and Ghouls.
Boils and Ghouls, that's all like that.
I'm your host, Sarah Stephenson, and this is my co-host, Mike Stephenson.
Hi, guys.
And tonight we're reviewing that new TV series that just came out just last year on Shudder, I think it was
Yeah,
called.
Shudder, yeah, that's correct, yeah.
Creepshow.
It's the TV series, yeah. Not to be mistaken with the movies of the same name.
Yeah, but there's some interesting things there.
Yeah, but they are related, though, so we might mention those a little bit in passing.
Quite. And it has a similar theme to as the the movies.
We will.
Like,
okay.
so
we won't talk about that until we actually get into it, okay?
yes. So who directs them and writes them anyway?
I'm wondering whether you're going to ask that question.
Good question.
Now, a lot of these, this is like an anthology TV series. So what they've actually done, they've got, I think, about half a dozen different directors involved. I think there's 12 episodes, or 12 episodes. And what they've done is, some people have done 1, 2, or 3 episodes, and some people have done 1 episode. But I'll just give a list of the names involved with the directorships. Okie dokie. Now, I'll mention this first one, Greg Nicotero. I'll talk about him a bit later on. He's one of the main ones in more ways than one. John Harrison's another one. Rob Schrab, David Bruckner, Roxanne Benjamin, and Tom Savini. So they directed the 12 episodes. While I'm on who's doing what to whom here, these are all short stories written by different people. However, one of the stories, one called Grey Matter, was written by Stephen King himself. So obviously he is in approval of this new series. Okay, so he's behind it in some ways, but he's only written one story, and apart from that, he's out. He's given them their blessing and away they're off.
Yeah,
but,
and not to mention, when they were doing this series, they included a lot of other key elements you may have seen from the Creepshow movies.
I was actually talking about the writers here.
I know.
Are you going to mention Joe Hill? I was going to mention Joe Hill now.
I know. I'm just mentioning, want to bring up that you might see a few snippets of stuff in the background that hint to the other two movie creep
and
shows.
Other things. Now, what I was going to say is, one of the other writers, I won't go into everybody, is a guy called Joe Hill. And that's Stephen King's little boy.
Yes, and another thing about this is Joe Hill, he starred in the Creepshow in the first movie.
He's a little boy reading the comics.
Yes, Billy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, Sarah was saying there's things going on in the background, but we were watching one the other day, and we saw Night of the Living Dead on the TV in the background.
Guess who that is?
Well, George Romero. Now, George Romero had something to do with the production of, I think, at least one of the Creepshow movies, if not 2 of them. So George Romero's been sniffing around a tad, and he's still alive and well.
Well,
maybe a Walking Dead, maybe.
Well,
but
you know what they say, Mike. I mean, they want, when it comes to films, they want something out of this.
You can't keep a good zombie down.
Even if it means a snippet of the old movie they used to put in their own movie, in this, just to show that they are involved in this.
Yes, even behind the scenes, maybe not credited, but they might have been helping out and backing it in other ways. But if you go back to George Romero, we all get a nice warm feeling in our hearts when we think of George Romero and Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it was a great movie, but it was a good, cheap horror movie.
I think
a lot of
cool.
jump scares and whatever. Now, George was the director of the first Creepshow movie in 1982. And in Creepshow number 2, he wrote the screenplay with a co-writer, Lucille Fletcher. So George is always hanging around the genre.
Yeah.
Anyway, now, do you want to talk about the an overview, synopsis sort of thing of the series?
I'll keep it very, very short, if I can.
We're not going to talk about each individual episode. We'll be here all night, okay?
Yes. So the first one is called Grey Matter. dealing with Stephen King's story, of course, and
Good old Stephen. Yeah.
and about a boy who's giving his dad some alcohol that turns to addiction,
Well-
turning into
well,
something more
Yeah, Dad was in
horrible.
depression and drinking too much, and the storyline that Stephen wrote, Dad actually turns into a monster, and he starts eating people.
Yes.
What a really nice,
Yes.
warm and friendly story there. One for the kiddies, folks.
Yeah, and speaking of one for the kiddies, the next story is called The House of the Head. Or the House...
The House of the Head instead of the head of the house. It's
Yeah,
the House of
it's
the Head.
a play on words,
Yeah,
or
it's
a
about
twist.
it's a
with
doll's
twist.
house, which is, it's a haunted or controlled by
Haunted,
spirits,
I think.
or it's hard to tell. But anyway, irrespective, the little girl gets a dollhouse from somewhere or other. Someone gives it to her as a gift or whatever.
Or she made it, I think.
No, someone gave it to the family and she took it over. And there's something sinister, demons in control of it and stuff. Hence, it's in the anthology, isn't it, folks?
Ooh, so what's the next story, Mike?
Bad Wolf Down.
Ooh, this one takes place during World War One or World War Two.
World War Two, yes.
I think.
Yeah, World War Two.
And it deals with werewolves and stuff.
Yeah, these soldiers are being chased. American soldiers, or Allied troops, I think they're Americans, were being chased by the Germans through the forest or whatever, and they'll hold up in this place, and they're going to be killed for sure. And they meet this lady who is a werewolf, and she asks them to put her out of her misery. And they said, okay, before you do that, we're going to get killed anyway. We want a chance. So they asked her to turn them into werewolves, and they attacked the Nazis.
Yeah.
And guess what? They won.
Yeah, and guess what else? Jeff Combs, who stars at
He was soldier, wasn't he?
as our reanimated doctor in Reanimator, and he's been in a lot of other interesting movies along the way
He was one of the
too.
good soldiers who turned into a werewolf.
No, he was a bad Nazi who was going to get eaten.
Naughty.
So
Yeah.
he's been known to play some interesting roles in these movies a lot.
Okay, next one. One called The Finger. That's a nice little friendly one written by David Schroe, I think.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. It's about a man who finds a weird-looking shaped finger.
Yeah, but looks like half claw, half finger sort of thing.
Yes, and it starts growing and growing until it turns into a really creepy alien-type creature.
Remember in Alien the movie when the alien was little, when it first came out and ran around before it grew? Something similar to that.
Yeah, and it started doing things for him in obedient, like dog-like loyalty way.
And even if it didn't ask, it did it for it to protect him. But the problem is, it sent him crazy, and he got arrested and stuff for killing people and stuff, which he didn't do.
Yeah,
but we don't really know whether it was his delusional state of mind which created it, and he was actually doing it. Remember, like Secret Window with Johnny Depp?
I get.
He said, "Oh, I've got this man here hanging around." It was actually him doing it. So we don't really know. It's up to you, and if you watch it, this is quite interesting.
Yeah, it made for an interesting story. So moving on, what was the next story on the chopping block?
All Hallows Eve.
Ooh, this one's a good one, guys. I highly recommend you guys to watch this one.
A quick snippet of what it's about?
Well, it's about these, 5 Halloween trick-or-treaters. They're going on their nightly treat.
Yeah, we think they're normal
treat.
kiddies.
And we first think that they're just punk kids who are causing a little trouble for the local neighbours. But then
the neighbours don't like them, obviously.
Yes, for gosh knows reasons.
We'll soon find out later
Until
on.
they have some evil, well, not evil actually, it's more like vengeful.
Vengeance. Yeah, vengeful, yeah.
Like they want to take revenge on some people who caused them something really bad in their past.
And we find out towards the end that these kids aren't kids, they're actually the spirits of 5 dead kids who were killed by another 4 or 5 kids in the area who killed them on Halloween evening or night, whatever. So they just and they came back to get the last one.
Yeah, and they finally were able to rest in peace.
And went back
a good ending for when I think about it.
A nice, warm and fluffy ending to a nice story.
Yeah. So what's the next one on our chopping block?
One of my favourites. Because when I talk about vengeance, be mine, saith the Lord. The Man in the Suitcase.
Oh, this one I like very much too. This one's about a boy who's just arrived back from on the airport.
Somewhere he coming home from somewhere.
Yeah, and he somehow gets his suitcase, which has something weird about it.
Yeah, he would have thought he would have noticed it was a bit heavier.
Yeah.
Underpants and stuff wouldn't be that heavy.
Yeah, true.
But he gets the bag home and he finds there's a man inside his bag,
Yeah.
all twisted up like a pretzel, but a man all the same,
Yeah.
and he's alive.
Yes. Yes.
But he turns out, come on, tell him.
Well, I don't know how to explain it to you guys, but somehow he spits out coins whenever they twist him.
Yeah,
and
whenever
he's
he's in pain, he drops out a gold coin, an old gold coin, which is worth lots. I mean, one gold coin, they'd say about $250, $300. And he gets, he doesn't want to hurt the guy too much.
Yeah.
He thinks,
and the guy who says, if you get me out of this thing, whatever coins that come out of my mouth are yours for a keep.
But he has the mistake of telling his friends about it.
He tells his friends, and they see big money in this deal.
And they try to milk this poor little man in the suitcase for everything he's got.
Yeah, and soon enough, this kid, he has second or third thoughts about milking the poor man dry.
And he wants to look after him and get him out of the bag.
Yeah, and
he
he feels like he's being murdering, so he wants to call the police, but his girlfriend breaks his phone.
And Brendan breaks his head.
Yeah.
She hits him with something on the head, like a hammer or something.
I think it was a hammer, and to me, I thought he may have died or something. But anyway.
Well, and he fell downstairs. And anyway, he disappears out of the scene for a minute, and it goes back to the his ex-girlfriend and his mate.
Yeah, who I think they had an affair with each other.
He was getting into her pants all the way through the show behind the scenes. You can see it coming.
Well, the other boy, according to the story, is that he's always letting people step on him a lot.
Yeah, he's a soft, gentle guy. A really nice guy. Yeah, the sort of guy, if you take home to meet mum and dad, they wouldn't be terrible about that.
Yeah, it's probably one of the reasons why this man in the suitcase chose him, because he's a good-natured guy.
Yeah.
And these two kids, they want to milk the poor man to death.
And hurt him and keep him a prisoner. A bit like a genie in the lamp, supposedly.
Yes. Soon enough, the guy reveals his real true colours.
He turns into an evil demon genie type thing.
Yeah.
And he makes two suitcases appear, empty ones. And
Uh-huh.
guess what?
Hint, hint.
He puts them into it.
Yes.
And then the next time you see this genie guy, he's standing upright in a nice suit, and he's at the airport.
And
going
he's
back.
counting his suitcases.
He's got those suitcases. He's going back home to his country, and it looks like this is a regular tour. Of course, the lady at the counter knows him. We'll take care of your luggage as always, sir. Yeah, and they go,
hint, hint, aha.
And then we cut to the poor guy in the hospital.
Yeah.
The original guy, and he's a bunch of flowers there with a little card saying, if ever you need me, just think of me or something, and I'll be there for you.
Yeah, it seems
lovely.
like this genie or demon owes it to.
He has a soft spot for it. A bit like Aladdin and the genie. So Aladdin had a pure heart, and the other people around him didn't, and stuff.
Yeah, and you may not know this, guys, but genies in the legends, they're actually demons who are put in punishment for being naughty to become servants of the lamp. So whoever owns the lamp, they become their servant to them.
I heard a slightly different. I had an add-on story that if you were evil and you mistreated a demon that you summoned or something other, they could turn you into a genie too, as punishment. So there's two different scenarios for becoming a genie.
So this might fit in with why these kids got placed in those suitcases.
Yeah, they're going to be slaves to
the next person who may come along.
Yeah.
So it fits in with that story.
Yeah.
So let's move on. Sorry.
The Companion.
Oh, this one's a good one. This one's about a boy who's being mistreated by his brother.
Yeah, he beats him up and stuff. And
he then runs to a farmhouse.
An abandoned farmhouse.
And he discovers this weird scarecrow creature.
And he brings it to life accidentally.
Yes. And I won't reveal to you the twist at the ending because it's too good.
But he does help him out with his brother.
Mm-hmm. I won't tell you how at this point, so move on.
My next one is sort of not my favourite one, but it's very, very interesting. It's called Lydia Lane's Better Half.
Yeah, it's not my favourite either, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's about this very successful businesswoman, and she's just selected a person to do
become the next CEO or something
next
or other.
CEO for another business or company, whatever.
Or an arm of the company or something.
And the other person that was most likely going to be selected didn't take this so well.
No, and they had an argument, and she accidentally kills the other prospective incumbent.
Yes.
And then she's trying to hide the body and different things, and everything goes pear-shaped.
Yeah, she then tries to take her down an elevator, and the elevator starts malfunctioning.
And that stops, and then there's problems. She's there for, 24 hours?
24 hours.
Or more. And and things don't go right, and then she tried to go out the elevator, and we won't tell you how it ends.
Yeah, it's too good.
Now,
not really too good. It's just
that's good. It's good. She gets her own back. Yeah, even being dead, you can get vengeance.
Okay, go on.
Now, next one, Night of the Poor. That was a nice, interesting story.
That one is based
by John Esposito.
Yeah, this is based off the monkey paw story you may have read
and they
watched
always
on television.
go wrong, folks.
Yeah, I remember they did this twice in Tales of the Crypt movie and the TV show.
Some of those old shows like the Tales of Terror, what do you call it? Amicus Tales of Terror, or Tales from the Vault. Yeah, that's what the old ones which Hammer did, English ones, whatever. Yeah. It was in there too, occasionally. The monkey paw has been very popular in the old movies.
Yeah, well, it's always been popular for over the years, especially the idea. Well, this is sort of the same story you probably heard. Like a man, his wife wishes for millions and millions and trillions of dollars.
Yeah, those ones happen all the time.
And suddenly, she drops dead.
And they're getting a nice insurance claim.
Yes.
Hey, not bad.
And he decides to take out the monkey's paw again and say, I wish she comes back to life again.
And it goes on from there like the normal stuff, and everything goes pear-shaped again.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll leave that one alone for the time.
But I want to say the next part to it before we go on. Then a lady, he kind of summons
he wishes for this lady.
He wishes for a killer to kill him because he's still in pain for losing his wife.
Yeah.
And he tells his story. I won't tell you the whole story again.
Yeah.
But he tells her this, and she
doesn't believe.
She doesn't believe him, and she tries to prove it by throwing the monkey paw into the fire.
And he sets on fire.
Yes, and then she finally puts him out of his misery by shooting him. And this is where I told Mike last night that the only time you could probably use the paw is
pass it on if you die or something.
Yeah.
I didn't know that, but it hasn't shown up in other movies. So that's a good twist on the story. If the owner dies, then the monkey paw gets goes through another life cycle to make another 3 wishes.
Yeah, and so he already given her the monkey paw as a bit of a payment for her.
A little prezzy.
For helping him die, and she has a past too where she says she killed her husband because he was in agony in the hospital.
That was a nice thing, like a bit of like euthanasia. She shot him or did something there because the guy was dying in hospital and stuff. So she wasn't a mad killer type person, but she had blood on her hands.
Yeah. So she ends up taking the monkey paw, and she gets into a car, and she forgets where the keys are, and then she probably unknowingly wishes for the keys, and guess what? It comes into her lap, and the monkey palm slowly starts moving.
One of his fingers, every time you make a wish, one of the fingers closes down. So you say, "I've got one wish." Another wish. You've got one wish left. And it closed down. Yeah. And while the fingers are closed over, that means there's no wishes left.
Yeah. And the next one, she wishes the car to start because it was starting to
stall.
Stall.
Not stall, would start.
And she probably says to herself,
I wish this thing would start. Yeah. And she didn't say it out loud, and the monkey paw made the car start. She had one wish left.
Yeah,
we won't say what she did.
Well, I want to do this last one because it's really good, and I want to show it to you here.
Well, she goes to the morgue to wake up a dead boyfriend.
Yeah, and there's
Don't tell him what happened.
there's a lot of dead bodies around her.
Oh, you're telling him now.
Well, this makes a little sense because she says, "I wish for him to come back to life," and guess what? Other bodies in the morgue.
Well, it didn't specify which one. Or if someone said, "I wish you would come back to life," but didn't specify which one. So all the bodies in the morgue woke up, and guess what? Her boyfriend woke up and he started chewing on her neck or something. Yeah,
that
really
or
good.
giving her a sloppy kiss.
Oh no, there's blood coming out of her.
Yeah, and of course the monkey palm closes its fist, ending all 3 wishes.
But if she dies, it'll reopen.
Good point. But we still don't know who may get it.
A nurse.
Maybe.
Or a morgue attendant, or whatever.
Anyway, moving on. Sorry.
Now, this is a funny little, not a funny one, interesting one. Times is Tough in Muskie Holler, written by John Skip and Dory Miller.
Yeah, this one is sort of more like it's sort of like an end part to the story or stories. It does flash back in comic strip wise what happened beforehand.
Apparently, they had something like a Night of the Living Dead went through there, and people being killed and sort of reanimated, and the mayor and his cronies were killing people. I think they're killing people who didn't need to be killed as well, because people who got in the way of what they were doing, they killed them. So that he had a very nasty black rain. How's that?
Yeah. So he ended up he and his cronies, they get assembled into
like a prison?
A prison of sorts, and they're about to get their sentence carried out.
Yeah, and they're being challenged what they did, and their leader of the rebels, I guess that's a nice name, isn't it? Rebels, starts to go through and tell them what their crimes were, and then they winch them up to the ceiling of the cell, and their heads pop through this plate, which is in the middle of a sporting arena. And everyone's and they got it's like can I, folks, tonight we're going to that sort of stuff, and something's going to happen to them. Yeah. You're not going to tell them, are you?
No.
Good, thank
you
very, very much.
And I don't want you guys to get even more spoilers.
They certainly get their just desserts for being really nasty, cretinous people. Yeah.
I know that we often said we'll reveal spoilers, but there's too many good stuff here that will be worth. It will be worth watching once you watch it for yourselves.
Yeah. Go on, buy a copy or do something.
So what's the next one, Mike?
Skin crawlers.
Ooh, this one's gross. And
if you hate leeches, you'll hate this one.
Yeah, and if you guys are worried about dieting, I suggest you watch this movie.
I would go on a diet, Atkins diet,
Yeah, so this one deals with this new
health
clinic who finds this leech or a parasite that can suck out all your fat and make you look slim and trim.
Really quickly.
Stuff.
So now I'll tell you about the guy in charge of this clinic went over to the jungles of Africa or somewhere or other looking for something or other, and he found these leech type things. It was bigger than normal leech, about a foot long.
Yeah, not like an eel.
Like a small eel. But anyway, and if these attach themselves, they got a chemical which liquefies the fat in your body, and they suck it straight out. And it's all instant diet. A miracle cure. Marvellous. However, there's a problem.
There's a big problem. And one of the guys who is about to get under the knife or under the sucking whatevers, discovers this. But I won't tell you the end result. It's too good.
It's nice and gory. It's really
and
good.
Juicy.
Sloppy juicy. No, anyway.
Go on.
The last one, By the Silver Water of Lake Champlain.
Yeah, this one is the
this is Joe Hill's
story.
Contribution, yes.
Yeah.
Stephen King's son.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad story.
Yeah, I think it's great. It reminds me of those interesting lake monsters.
Yeah, a bit like Loch Ness monster type stuff, yeah.
And over the years, a lot of people have made their own lake-type monster story in movies and TV shows and cartoons.
Stuff like that.
To indicate that there is lake monsters in other places.
There's lots of theories of it. Like you take a Loch Ness monster. Mm-hmm. Some people believe they've seen something out there. Now, there could be something out there. Loch Ness monster is in a loch, which is a big lake, and it's supposed to be really, really deep. Now, and that's supposed to be connected to the ocean because someone once told me it's tidal. Mm-hmm. Now, if there's a sea creature that spends a lot of time underwater, let's say something which looks similar to a serpent or an old dinosaur type thing, it could be something yet to be discovered. But it pops up there, may come back there occasionally for breeding or something or other, holidays, so whatever. Yeah. And it gets seen occasionally. Yeah. But like this, that's just like that sort of story.
Yeah, so this story is A little bit different than its predecessors. Not as gross, but it's pretty and has a good conclusion in this
it's
movie.
more about the people involved in seeing it and trying to find it. Yeah, it starts off that it's a family there, and the dad has dead. He drowned in the lake looking for this monster.
I often think he was murdered.
I reckon the monster got him.
I think it was mostly Chet, who's the sort of
nasty guy.
Not boyfriend. He was just living with living with the family.
Well, he came in looking after them after Daddy died, and you think, maybe.
I sense he did have a he probably did do something with.
Oh, look, I reckon the monster raided Dad because he's out in the lake there. He's in the wrong place at the wrong time. And this guy just smooched in there and said, "Okay, I get free sex, somewhere to roof over my head and whatever."
I just think that maybe he
was a nasty guy.
He was a nasty guy, but I did think he must have a hand in it because he was acting all violent and hinting that he had violent tendencies.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean he killed the guy. He just like a man to be feared. I'm arrogant, nasty, and horrible. Don't get in my bloody way. He may not have killed him, but anyone who went against him, he was very violent towards. A control freak type, sleep with the enemy sort of guy.
Yeah. So, this is probably the last episode I could think of that we were.
That is the last episode.
Yeah.
There's only 12, not 1,200. Now.
Yeah, so this is I don't know if they're going to be doing a season 2 for next year. I haven't heard.
No, it has been renewed for second season, but I can't find the information on second season.
Same here.
However, it was only approved for second season towards the end of last year, and if they're trying to get into pre-production mode early this year, then the coronavirus come along and put everything on hold.
I gotta admit though, Mike, it's weird that unlike Tales of the Crypt, which have done episodes to the Gill, this one only did 6. I just wonder why they couldn't do as many episodes.
They did 12, not 6.
Well, 6 episodes.
No, six. I say 6 installments, but there's 2 stories for each installment. So technically 12 episodes.
Okay, 12 episodes.
But they got 12 stories. How many? 100? I mean, some things go, season 1 has 6, season 2 has 12, season 3 has 22 or something or other. I would like to keep each season nice and neat and a small packed in between, say, 5 and 10. When it gets too much and ramming too much into a season, unless you're developing a storyline and an ongoing story, I don't think you need it. And then you can say, okay, we'll do this release. You spend a bit more time putting together, making it good quality. So that's my thoughts on it anyway.
I see.
But now, what I was going to talk to you about, just in passing, one of the main guys involved here was Greg Nicotero. Now, he, I believe, came on as a producer for the show. He also, I think he wrote one of the segments, or co-wrote. He also directed 2. So producer, director, and a writer. So the guy is very multi-talented. I went online to have a look at a bit more about it. I had vaguely heard the name, but he learnt under his skills mainly special effects, working for George Romero and people like that. But he's mainly a special effects artist, but he's also a producer and director. Now, I won't go through with the filmography. It just goes page after page after page. But the guy is a talent. One of the first things I read about him, he said when he saw Jaws, the Steven Spielberg movie Jaws, when he was younger, he said, how the hell did they make a shark to swallow a man? And that got his juices flowing to become a special effects guy. So Steven Spielberg, see, you created a new special effects guy by your movie. No, not bad. Go on, Steve, because this guy is not bad. He's a multitasker. He's really good. The industry needs more people who are flexible and adaptable.
Exactly. Good, Mike. Good choice.
Now,
choice of words.
Anything you want to talk about?
Yeah, when they did Grey Matter Grey Matter was a short story by Stephen King, as you well know. It was first published in 1973 issue of
What's that? Cavalier magazine, I think it was. Yeah,
and later it was collected in Stephen King's 1978 collection, Night Shift.
Oh, Night Shift. Oh, yeah. I know Night Shift. Yeah.
Yeah, so...
That was a TV show. Was that stories in the book? Or because there was, I think there was a TV version of Night Shift.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So, as you guys are aware, that Stephen King, he wrote a lot of short stories and issued them into a lot of different magazines. Even Playboy got a few stories from it, too.
Sorry.
I even issued a few reviews of my own in Phantasmagorical magazine, as you probably have already seen, maybe.
Yeah, yes. People are actually approaching you at the moment for you to contribute to their magazines and websites and stuff for interviews and stuff. So, you're becoming well known. Aha! Not just for podcasting.
Well, it's always good. Yeah, so... I do like it that Stephen King worked really hard on his stories a lot, especially putting in short stories just to pay the bills.
Well, you have to start somewhere, and I haven't read Stephen King's autobiographies or biographies or whatever. I would say he started off writing short stories for the magazines while he was developing his skills as a novel writer.
You just don't see too many of that sort of thing out there in magazines.
Now. People don't read magazines like they used to years ago, because you used to have ordinary magazines and short stories, and you had your Reader's Digest stuff and all that. Yeah, a lot of people don't read it. They'd rather just go online and read something, or they don't even go to libraries that much anymore.
True.
Yeah.
It's just
so things have changed.
It's just that with that element of writing skill, you won't be able to be taken serious as a writer.
No, and he's done it the long way. Well, no, probably the best way. Hone your skills. Submit them to magazines. He probably had a lot of rejections too.
Several, maybe.
No, quite a few. The magazines do not take every story you write, so he would have done quite so many, and so many were rejected, and the rest of them were published, and then he found, okay, these ones worked, they didn't. He learnt from his writing mistakes and his successes, and he's honed his skills, and he got into decent novel writing, But he can write a horror movie. He can write a coming-of-age movie like The Stand. He can do... He can do lots of good things, and it just look. I don't say it comes out of left field, but I mean some of the storylines are fantastic. They're and they're believable storylines. I mean, okay, you got Langoliers and stuff. Okay, not quite believable, but you look at it, and that's not a bad story. Okay, a ghost story. Mean ghost eats kids, whatever. That's fine. I'm live with that. But Night Flyer, that was one of his, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was one of his.
Yeah,
and I like to think
incredible. Yeah.
I often think that almost a lot of the stories. What?
Was The Mist one of his?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that most of his stories, he bases his lead character on himself.
Yeah, there's often
it's
the lead character is a writer,
a reader. A reviewer, a magazine writer of any kind of
you think about it, he's writing from what he knows. I mean, this guy is doing this.
Or maybe it's people he met when he was working on these books. Yeah. You can, as a writer, you can go and socialise with different writers.
Other writers. And pick their brains. No.
Well, just get ideas for the next character.
Hey, that room 5, whatever, that when the ghost, the room was haunted, was that one of his?
Yes.
Yeah, that was a brilliant movie. That guy was the writer doing an expose on a supposed haunted room or haunted locations.
So he may have picked each person's brain, or even met some of these people to get inspiration for his next story.
Or had a bit of a brainstorming session over a cup of coffee or something stronger.
Yes, to get some ideas.
A bit of bourbon.
I gotta admit, it is kind of clever when you think about it.
No, he's a brilliant writer. Yeah, but I mean, obviously he is on board with this project because he's contributed a story and so has his son. So it's kept up the spirit of Stephen King and the way he writes. Now, actually, there's something I want to say. There's Creepshow movie number 1, and there's Creepshow movie number 2. But then there's a Creepshow movie number 3, which has got nothing to do with Stephen King, I believe. I don't believe there's any Stephen King stories in it. I don't believe he was part of it. I don't know whether he just said, okay, yes, you can use the names as Creepshow. Don't know. But because Creepshow may not have been, copywritten.
But still, The third one, it was another...
It wasn't bad.
Another, what's that word you used?
Another anthology.
It's another anthology horror movie thing.
Yeah, it's in the same spirit, but had nothing to do with Stephen King. So, I don't like people taking something that someone else has started and I'll borrow that and try to make some money on it. Yeah, hey, make up your own stories. Make up your own title.
Yeah, but bear in mind, Mike, that they probably are trying to find the right title, and the original title may have been not... It didn't capture the people's minds, and they decided to...
We'll borrow that one.
And they say, why don't you ask Stephen King if we could borrow that title, and it would sell. That's how I see it sometimes.
Well, they could have called it The Devil's Anthology or something, right? That's got a nice ring to it. Yes, but
I mean, you said I have often told you guys in the past that people do borrow or buy the copyright rights
and they
to
get,
the
and you get
name.
a licensing fee, and yes, I know all this, but I don't like people using somebody else's idea to do something. I'd rather see something fresh, and they've taken the name Creepshow. They just saying, oh, if we put Creepshow on it, everyone's going to think it's a Stephen King production or his stories, and people are going to go see the movie. That's what I'm saying. So,
It's just like when Lawnmower Man, the movie I'm referring to, they took, the directors took Stephen King's title name and used it for their movie, but at the same time, this is not one of his works.
It doesn't look much like the original story, no.
Yeah, so if you guys have seen the movie, you should be aware that this is not a Stephen King production.
Yeah, well, yeah, but they borrowed it's like Dracula. Dracula movies called Dracula. The only thing in it about which resembles Bram Stoker's work is Dracula's in it. Apart from that, it's nothing like the book.
True. So, do you want to rate this movie series now, Mike?
Yeah. Look, I like all the stories. The productions are good. There's good directorship. Everything's believable, and it's good, fun, short story type things thrown together. And yeah, I really like this sort of stuff because I grew up with the anthology stuff years ago. I'll have to give it a 9.5, because I do like Stephen King, and
I do like him too. I like the
George Romero
comedy type movies he comes up with, cooks up with.
Yeah, but these guys they're carrying the spirit of Stephen King through their own works as well, their stories, and and it's good to see fresh stories coming in instead of let's redo the same crap again. No, I like fresh stories. I mean, and I keep talking to you. It's no good rehashing a storyline and making another movie based on another movie based on another movie.
Yeah, but you got to admit, when they did for one of the episodes, the monkey paw one.
That's different. That's a traditional one.
Yeah.
But all the other ones there, they've got their own character, their own life. They're not a copy of somebody else's work. It's not. It's a fresh story.
I mean, I understand that.
And that's what makes it more interesting for me. Hey, it's a fresh story. Oh, I've seen something like this in another movie. Yes, I know it's going to happen next. Then it gets really boring, and that's when I go to the fridge and get a beer out, or go and make a cup of coffee or something rather, because I'm starting to get bored.
Yes.
If I'm interested in a movie or a TV show, I will not move from my lounge chair. I will sit there and watch. I'll be watching and listening and trying to suck it all in. And hey, this is good. But if I find an excuse to leave the room, then you know you've lost my attention.
Yes, so should we rate this now?
I just did.
Oh,
remember
sorry.
9.5? Remember that?
Okay,
Remember me?
Okay, so so I rate this movie 9.5 out of 10.
Ooh, 9.5. Ooh, that's pretty good.
Well,
up there with me. Someone say, "Oh, I'll give it 10." But 9.5. That's good. That's good.
Well, I just think that I do like these short stories. It's just that, well, some of them do. I didn't like that one about the elevator. That one was
good.
A little weak.
No, it wasn't weak. It was just it was a good basic story. But yeah, you didn't see the end coming, did you?
No.
And that was what made that little twist at the end made it really good.
True.
He said, "Oh, what's happening now? What's happening now? What's happening now? What's happening now?" Oh, and that's it. And that finished.
I did enjoy the that kept coming up.
The what?
The weird creature that comes out during.
Oh, the creature.
After,
Yeah.
Before and after the story begins.
Well, that follows the same spirit of the other Creepshow movies. They had this little ghoul, skeleton-y type guy who was introducing it, and either
and laughing at
that sort of stuff.
Yeah, roughly.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah, I think he's interesting. There was one of my favorite bits in that was when he was carving a jack-o'-lantern, and he gets a knock at the door.
Trick or treat.
And he kills the trick-or-treater.
And he takes his eyeballs and teeth and shoves it in his jack-o'-lantern. Isn't that sweet?
Yeah, it was gross, but very fun.
Hey, tell you what, I mean, we're in Australia. We don't get the old Halloween like you do in America.
But we do get a lot of jack-o'-lanterns when it comes to October.
Yeah, but it's not the same as America. They try to emulate what America does. It's not the same. In America, it's part of their tradition.
I don't even know anything about how to carve a jack-o'-lantern.
Yeah, it's easy. But the point is, I'm trying to say to you is, in America, kids grow up with the tradition and they pass on to their kids, etc. So they learn how to carve pumpkins occasionally in some families and stuff. They do the Halloween stuff. We don't do as much but it's a pale copy of what they do in America. I would really like to be in America for Halloween to see the fun the kids have and the streets done up and But it looks good in the movies. It may be nothing like that in reality. I don't know, but it looks like a lot of fun.
I would like to go to actually check out a real Halloween trick or treat thing. I mean, we do get the odd trick or treater coming to the door, but
it's not the same.
It's not the same thing.
No, it's an American holiday thingy. Not Australian, so it hasn't taken on over here. It's just they try to force it. It just doesn't work.
They even have before the lockdown, we had a Halloween festival or carnival of sorts. That's
end of last year.
Yeah. And it's not. It was pretty incredible.
Fright Night.
No, not that one. I was referring to the one down at Manly down.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Yeah, they had the odd, and it would look like the Echo came.
They wouldn't know what the Echo is. They wouldn't know what that is.
Well, if you went,
like a carnival atmosphere. Yeah,
it's pretty interesting. They had the odd
parade
and stuff.
Still small stuff. Yeah,
small stuff.
Yeah.
But we do go the odd Fright Night.
We have a place over here in Australia called Movie World, and once a year, about September, is it?
October.
They do. They when it gets warmer here, they do Fright Night and have they just open up and have all these walk through haunted house type things and a lot of
Think of Hellfest.
Yeah, the movie Hellfest. Anyway, why don't we review Hellfest?
We might do
That'd be a good one. I like that one. I got some grey areas in that one, but we can
we'll
address
try
those.
To address it as of. We'll try to work on it.
No, it's good. Put it on the list. Hellfest.
Right.
We're always looking for new ideas. And you guys, I don't know if Sarah's been getting any comments. We did invite you guys to suggest, hey, why don't you review such and such another movie or TV show? And we haven't heard any. You heard anything from anybody?
I got a few emails from a few people.
Any suggestions we can use?
And a few suggestions, and a few people do like our podcast. So thanks very much, guys.
I like to think a lot of people like the podcast.
So thanks for liking it, guys.
You're interesting, and I'm funny-ish. And yeah.
Yes. So I think this is about all we have to say today.
That's it, folks. So,
thanks for listening to our latest podcast episode, Boys and Ghouls. This is your Mistress of the Dark, Sarah Stephenson.
I wish you were dressed like Elvira. Oh, no, you're my daughter. No, I'm glad you're not dressed like Elvira. Yeah. Sarah's saying goodbye, and I suppose I better say goodbye now too. But folks, if you can get a copy of this TV series on TV or whatever, I suggest you watch it. It's pretty good.
Okay, I'm going to try this again. Thank you very much. When I say after, this is the Mistress of the Dark, Sarah Stephenson, you say, and this is her co-star, yada, yada, yada.
I know how to do it. I was talking about Elvira.
Okay, so This is your Mistress of the Dark, Sarah Stephenson.
And this is Mike Stephenson, her faithful Indian companion.
Yeah, Igor.
Igor? Oh, Igor. Oh, no. Hey, I got a hunch. Okay, I'll have to bend over now. Look like Groucho Marx or something. Hey, yeah.
And wishing you unpleasant
dreams. We borrowed that from Elvira. That's okay. Bye.
See you around, guys.